We saw oil prices cool down today, and in terms of reaction, the market went up. And I'm going to show in terms of resistance levels and indications. Indications were pointing to the downside, but they kind of show 50-50 now. And I'm going to go over the economic calendar first before I get to the charts. And on Wednesday, October 9th, 8 a.m., we have Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic gives welcoming remarks. At 9:15 a.m., we have the Dallas Fed President Logan speak. At 10 a.m., we have wholesale inventories for August. 10:30 a.m., we have Chicago Fed President Austan Goolsbee giving opening remarks. At 12:30 p.m., we have Federal Reserve Vice Chair Jefferson speak. 12:45 p.m., we have Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic speak. 2 p.m., we have minutes of Fed September FOMC meeting. And at 5 p.m., we have Boston Fed President Suzanne Collins speak. And then at 6 p.m., we have San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly speak. So pretty eventful day. And then be mindful that on October 10th and October 11th, we have CPI and PPI inflations coming out respectively. And in terms of the markets, here's the SPY ETF for the S&P 500. Upward trend resistance line dating back since 2010. Upward trend support level dating back since 2010. And then two major crashes, which this could probably hold true, but we still need another touch point. There's still room to growth to the upside. And then there's been times where in the mid zone still got pulled down. But the level I want to show specifically is for the Nasdaq. The reason why we want to show this is because it has the same upward trend resistance line dating back since 2010 as well, and support levels dating back since 2010. Yes, we passed in 2020 to 2022, came back underneath, had issues passing it, did break through in July of 2024, and the markets, S&P 500, Dow Jones, Nasdaq, all created their all-time high in July. The Nasdaq is the only one that did not retest that July all-time high and pass it. Here it is right now. But the Nasdaq the S&P and Dow Jones did. So the S&P and Dow Jones surpassed their July 2024 all-time high and created new all-time highs, while the Nasdaq did not. It ended up actually falling back underneath the upward trend resistance line dating back since 2010, like you can see right here. And yes, false breakout, but that was more predominant during after hours and pre-market. And same thing here, predominantly after hours and pre-market as well. And came back underneath, and you could clearly see it had challenges passing that upward trend resistance line. Now we are approaching it. Indications before the oil prices kind of cooled down today was showing downside. And right now they're showing 50-50, I would say, for the most part. In terms of 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, they're showing upside. That's more for short term. But in terms of 1 year, right about here, it was actually crossed over to the bearish movement, but it's going back up to a bullish movement. This MAC line indicating for a bearish or bullish movement. So if you're thinking that we are going to meet up this upward trend resistance line and that's going to cause this issue, which I think in my opinion it will, we closed at $489.30 for ETF QQQ, ETF for Nasdaq. And this level, give or take, is about almost showing about $493. And mind you, there has been false breakouts, so be mindful of that. Just because it breaks through 493 doesn't mean that it won't get pulled back down and start having a downward trend potentially, right? But again, so the 1 year chart, technically, if you're going off the MAC line, showing upside. The 5 year chart showing crossover to a bullish movement, even though it's still in the bearish movement, I would say. And the L chart is 50-50, like all of them. Like all of them, I mean S&P 500. This is ETF SPY, ETF for the S&P 500. It's showing all chart right now, basically 50-50 for the all chart, and then the Dow Jones all chart. But if you go to the 1 year chart for the Dow Jones, it's showing bearish movement. Now we do have a green candle, but it almost seems like this up day was just not necessarily a fluke, but in a way it's just not necessarily a continuation that we're going to be seeing moving forward, maybe a downside. But the Dow Jones is only the strongest one. The rest of them are 50-50. So the S&P, it's more like the Nasdaq, where the Nasdaq crossed over to bullish, but it's going back and forth. S&P, you could argue it's almost about to do the same thing, because it was red candle, not red candle, but more of red solid red, light red, and then light red again, potentially could get pulled back up. And then this was the all-time highs back in end of September, so it could retest the all-time highs and then surpass them and creating new all-time highs. So basically within the whole entire zone right about here, so end of September timeframe or beginning of October as well too, and then retest and just surpass. We'll see what happens for that case. But 1 month, 3 month, and 6 month are potentially showing more upside for S&P, Nasdaq, and Dow Jones. But if you had to guess, given how it's an eventful week in a way with FOMC and then plus the Thursday, Friday CPI and PPI inflation numbers, if the numbers don't come in favorably showing that inflation is still getting reduced, then we could probably see the downtrend more committed, where even though S&P and Nasdaq are showing a 50-50 split potentially for the downside based off MAC lines, plus approaching critical levels, because mind you, S&P and Dow Jones are all-time high zones, S&P and Dow Jones, by the way. But the Nasdaq is approaching an upward trend resistance level dating back since 2010. So still an important level nonetheless. they could get to this level, create new all-time highs for S&P and Dow Jones, but then start getting pulled down because inflation numbers, FOMC, and all stuff. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys liked it. If you did, consider dropping a like. It does help out the channel, so thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it. And I'll be posting these videos daily, so if you want to be notified when I do, consider following, subscribing. Thanks again for watching. Appreciate it. Take care. God bless and peace.